afternoon, Gossip Pictures family. Is Samsa here at Gossip Pictures. Find your own voice, lead from within. So with me today, I'm with Amanda Murray. How are you, Amanda?
I'm good. How are you?
Good, 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 good. It's pouring with rain here in UK today. So which is all fun. It's been
Warm
raining.
here today. Last week it was,
Really?
oh yeah, last week I think we were like minus 30. And now
Okay.
this week it's like +8 because we have a Chinook. So it's like t-shirt weather.
Lucky thing, lucky things. So the topic today is turning an idea into reality, a step-by-step guide. So every great invention, business movement starts with an idea, but having an idea is just the beginning. Bringing it to life requires a vision, strategy, and action. So many people get stuck in the thinking phase, overwhelmed by fear, doubt, uncertainty. The key is to break your ideas into manageable steps and take consistent action. So whether starting a business or landing a project or creating something new, so this guide is going to help you to turn your business idea into tangible reality. So what do you think, Amanda? Because you are basically the creator of your destiny. You're always creating something. You're an author. So how do you connect to this topic?
Well, I think this is a really great topic, especially because I have a couple of ideas in my head right now, but I've been like stuck in just like starting because I don't know which one to focus on. And I have one other one to finish up, and I've been like very lazy trying to get the other one finished and just not really sleeping very well. So that's been affecting my like focus and creativity. And but I do think this is like really important because when you like set out to achieve a goal, it's like you have to do it even when you don't feel like it. And I'm guilty of not doing that right now. But I know when I've set out for like other goals in my life that it's like you do it until you like achieve that goal. And so like I set out to do my master's and then I finished my master's. I decided I was going to write a children's book, and now I've written like 9 children's books. But I decided I was going to write a book on like how yoga empowered my life, and I did a collaborative book with like 9 other women. And so, but it's like continuously working on it until that goal is finished and then moving on to the next one. And then I've done things like I ran a yoga retreat where a girlfriend and I she ran the yoga part and I ran the art part, and we did like this weekend yoga retreat, and it was like lovely and wonderful. And so whenever it is that we have an idea, we have to like then the hard part comes in. Like the ideas I think are the easy parts. It's the hard part is like turning that idea into a reality, because we get stuck. We get stuck because of fear, or we get stuck because we don't know what the next step is, or you get stuck because, like me, I haven't been sleeping very well, or life just takes over with like your children or whatever else, or um ex-husbands or something gets in the way of you focusing on your goals. And sometimes you have to be gentle with yourself and just like give yourself that time and space, and other times it's time to like power through and really like keep working towards your goal until you've made it. And I know, Nomza, like you have your own business and you have started this talk show, and so like you are turning your ideas into a reality too. What are the things that you do to make your ideas become a reality?
I like what you said, Amanda, that if you like you mentioned that you're not sleeping very well, and that is actually disturbing you, creating like with your like reaching your goals and stuff. I think sleeping is really, really important. And also at the same time, because when I'm listening, you are like you're creating goals, the retreat, writing books, and everything. But I think sometimes our body, there's a time where it says like the mind, it just want to relax and doing nothing. The muscles of the mind, the times where, because I've seen it with myself, where I get creative, but sometimes there's times where my body and my mind will be like, right now, I need to rest. It will be for a few days, like resting. Then I have to carry on with the other things that I'm doing. But sleeping is really, really important. For me, what drives me to actually keep, like, turn my ideas into reality. My dad, when I was young, you are a teacher, Amanda. You know that teachers are they are very good in creating strategy. And so my dad used to tell me that if you have things that you really, really need to do, you got to go for it. And if you don't do it, no one is going to do it for you, even my stepdad. My dad used to wake me up like at the age of 9 or 10. I started getting up at 4 a.m. So we get up at 4 a.m. And I think he was like training me. So we get up at 4 a.m. We'll have a chat and talk about life, how I'm getting on. And then at 5, like 5:30 or 6, he let me go back to sleep. So I'll go back to sleep. So it was a routine that, or sometimes even if it doesn't wake me up, my mind will be like, it's time to wake up. So I think when you train your mind and you train yourself to do things like that, so he started doing that. I became like, I became aware that if I don't do things, no one will do it for me. So I would just create things. And when I move in with my mom wasn't used to me. If I start like saying goals like this is what I'm going to do, and my mom will get really sad until my stepdad said to her, you know what, you're gonna have to let her do what she wants to do. She's got it all under control. So from that young age is really, really important. But if you didn't have that level of being trained as well, you can train yourself. It's really, really important. I know some people, they're scared, to fear gets in the way. Even myself, fear gets in the way. But I just have to close my eyes and make a decision. I just close my eyes. And what helps me the most, I shut up when I'm making a decision. I shut up to everyone. I go quiet with my decision. I make a decision because what I don't want is people start making me feel worse. People will start telling me 20 reasons why I can't do it. Me, I've already have my own reasons. So the best way is to shut up, close my eyes, and just do it. Once I do it, then that's when I start talking. And by the time people try to protect me, I've already done it. So that's what keep my business going. That's what keep me going. So I don't know about you, Amanda. You're a teacher. You go to teach us. Honestly, my dad was like a proper qualified psychologist. Teachers, I thought when I was watching one of the YouTube channel, one of the guys that was doing live, one of the speakers, I can't remember his name, is one of the professors who said, hang out with the teacher. And I was like, this man is actually telling the truth. Teachers, they're so good with creating goals and making sure you complete them.
Yeah, like I think there's definitely some teachers that do for sure. They have to be really organized, and there's some teachers that don't. Just like in any profession, there's people who are very highly efficient and very good at setting goals for themselves and for their students, and then working towards those goals. For me, like I'm so creative, and I'm so lucky that I have such a fantastic teaching partner, because I get these like grandiose ideas and I'm like, we should do this. And then he's like, okay, like how does it connect to the curriculum, Amanda? And I'm like, I'll figure out a way. And then we do. And so like even like I wanted to create this project with these spheros, and my vision was that I was like, I want to do something with these like little robots, and then I want it to tie into the curriculum somehow. How can we tie it into math? And then get the kids to do it. And essentially we created these like big settings, and we created golf courses, and they had to program the robot to maneuver through their golf course. And then they had to find the area perimeter and distance of different things on their setting. And so and then we wrote about it, and we wrote letters to the golf course explaining that the golf course that was nearest to us, explaining that they should change their golf course and have theme nights, because all of our holes had different themes. And actually we had the manager of the golf course come and speak to the students too, which was fantastic. And so then we like had these ideas in our heads that we like wrote out on paper, and then we created it in a 3D, and then we presented it to like a professional. And so like when you have like models like that, even in elementary school, which is what I teach, then you can see like, okay, like I have this idea. Okay, my idea I drew out on paper first. Then I made like a 3D model of it. Then I presented my 3D model to somebody in that industry to like get my ideas out there, right? And then if we were adults or something, or we wanted to become mini golf designers, then we would like go to school maybe for mini golf designer or something, or like start working at a golf course so that we could then have our ideas impact the actual real world. And so I was trying to show the kids like the steps to, and I didn't know that the manager would come and speak to us, or what it would turn out like. It was just an idea in my head that I was like, I want to use these little robots for something, and this is how I can see that we can tie it into the curriculum, is writing and math. And so turning those ideas into a reality, and they turned out better than I ever thought they would have. And it was such a fantastic and fun project. And so those are the sort of things too that I think we need to teach kids from a very young age, is like, okay, what's your idea? Then what's next? Then what's next? And even the other day, I had come across this feed on one of my groups I'm on Facebook for writing books. And it was somebody who had posted that their 10-year-old had published a book. And it was like Diary of a Wimpy Kid type of like drawings. And so I like bought the book just because I was like, this 10-year-old created this book, and I gave it to the class. I brought it to my classroom, and I said, hey, like when you have ideas, if you love to draw, and if you have like ideas in your head, like, look, there's a 10-year-old, somebody the same age as you, who's already published a book at 10 years old, and this kid has a podcast. Like when you turn your ideas into reality, yes, they probably have parents that support them with their ideas along the way, but so do so many of my students as well, have very involved parents. And if they ever had ideas like that, they could turn them into a reality. And there's children as young as 10 turning their book ideas into a reality because of self-publishing on Amazon. And all of my books are self-published too. And it's like this hobby that I love to do. And then I like to speak about it too. But I think when we turn ideas into reality, there's sometimes fear that blocks us, especially as adults, where sometimes children are like, they have no fear because they don't have any experiences yet that have like blocked them in their ability to trust their creative intuition. What do you think, Nomza?
I love when you say you guys created this robot ideas with the children, and it came out the way more than you guys expected, because you must guys have been really, really so creative and passionate about your ideas and stuff, which is really, really good. Um, and that idea just became a reality, which is really, really good. I like you having teachers like you, Amanda. I wish we could have teachers that are really, really so creative. There's a boy that goes to my daughter's school. Every time I see him in the morning, I think he's going to be an engineer. Every time I see him, he's got an aeroplane that is created, or he's got a spaceship, or he's got different things that is created. It's so, so creative. I love children that are really, really creative. I'm against the children that they watch TV and stuff. But what you're saying, teaching our children from a very young age is really, really important. Like you're talking about this kid that is created a podcast. My goodness, that's amazing. How old is he?
He was a kid that I just came across on Facebook, so I don't actually know this child, but it was the child that had written the book that I then bought their book, and it was like called Diary of an Older Brother or something. I can't remember what the book was called, but I read like a couple of the chapters. It's just like a little book, but he's got all these drawings, like the guy that did the Diary of a Wimpy Kid, and I was like, just like what an inspiration for this kid who loves to obviously draw. And then he just wrote about his own experiences. And then he has a podcast where he talks about books. And it's like, this is so great. Like, this is what kids should be doing instead of like just playing video games or watching TV. Or like lots of kids are in sports too. But what are you doing on your downtime? And I'm just as guilty as sometimes watching TV when I'm tired and not feeling very good. But we definitely, how I think we become more alive and more passionate when we have like this goal or this new idea that we're turning into a reality. And so when we start to take those steps, other parts of our life become more like fulfilling as well, I think, too, because we have this like passion and purpose that we're striving towards. And it might get us up early at 4 a.m. or at 5 a.m. And usually I do get up at 5 a.m. and I do some work on my goals or my books or blogging. But since January, I've kind of been a little bit of a bum and not been doing my things, but I'm a little stuck with which of my next goals I want to turn into a reality and how I'm going to take the best steps to get there. But one of the best advice that I've ever had was from a girlfriend who had a jewelry business, and I was like, how did you get started and how did you become what? And she's like, it was a hobby. It was a hobby that I love to do, that I do when my son was sleeping. And because her son was like really little, and she was like, I was a single mom. And I would just do that whenever my son went to bed at night. And it just became like a full business. And I was like, I have all these ideas. I have this idea and this idea, and this idea. Well, like, where do I start? And she's like, you just start and you will then like go on a path that will get you to where you need to go. And she's like, it doesn't matter which idea you start with, because maybe that one will eventually like die off and then you'll start a new one and then eventually you'll find your path, but you have to start. You can't just like stay stuck with those ideas in your head. And I think that was the best advice that anyone ever could have given me, was like, just start. And then once you start, keep going. Because if I had not listened to her and I just kept all the ideas for my books in my head, I would have never actually published them. I would have never met people who taught me how to self-publish on Amazon. I would have never got to the place that I am with some of those goals. Or if I only had the idea of doing my master's, then I never took the steps towards getting there, then I'd still be like, oh yeah, one day I'm going to do this 20 years later, when we really need to start taking steps now, because it doesn't matter what age you are too. I love reading stories about like people starting a business at 50 or writing their first book at 60 or whatever it is, that's something that's been inside you this whole time and needs to come out. And sometimes our ideas have been inside us for 10, 20, 30 years, and we've just been like stuck in not knowing where to start or not doing that. Like sometimes that first step is the hardest one, because we have like, it's like friction, right? It's like our idea friction inside of our heads, where the like force to get something moving is a bigger force than it needs to keep moving. And so that like objects in motion stay in motion, but friction slows us down. And even with our ideas, that I think that is a reality too, is like that first step is the hardest piece. That's the biggest push to turn our ideas into a reality, because that first step is sometimes the one that keeps us the most stuck in our own world. And then sometimes we like take the first step and we do like the first 5 steps and then we get stuck. And then it's getting started again. That's the hardest part. Because once we're in motion and continue to be in motion, it becomes easier, right? It becomes your habit. And it becomes the reality that we create for ourselves. And so, Nomza, when you started your business on matchmaking, what you had this idea in your head and like what was your like spark of
Well,
idea?
I did not have the idea, Amanda. I went on a date with a guy. I went on a date with a guy, and this guy was a businessman. So then he calls me, says, "No, sir, I would like to see you again." And I've had so much fun with the guy. And I thought he was coming to take me on a date. So then when he came, he was like, when I'm coming, can you make sure it's not far from your house? So I was like, not far from our house. I just trusted him. I was like, okay. So when he came, he had actually printed the matchmaking, all the rules and the regulations in a way that I will never have an excuse. So he had printed everything. He was big, fine, because he had his own business. So he had a printer. So he just went and printed all night. And when he came, he said, by the way, have you ever heard about the thing, matchmaking business? So I was like, no. And then he was like, okay, I'll show you. Let's go on the computer. I think you'll be good. I don't think I'm ready for someone like you, but but I think you'll be good matchmaking. So that's how matchmaking business began. But I was already matching people anyway, but I didn't know that it could be a business. Because people will be like, my friends will be really annoying me, and they'll be like, I'm looking for someone, and I'll be like, go online or go out, find the people, talk to people. So, but when I met the guy, I had really, really trained myself. I had to come out of a divorce, and I was working on myself. I was like, I had to figure things out, what went wrong, what we both did wrong. But now I was no longer unapologetic when I'm going out. I just ask the guys, I give the guys interviews, but when I give them interviews, they will not realize that I'm interviewing them because I will be so, so playful in a way that they'll give me all the answers that I need. So after that, that guy was like, no one has ever asked me these questions. I think you'll be good at doing this. So that's how I trusted the guy. I was like, if you think I'll be good at matchmaking, I'm going to do it as a business. But I realized at the same time that I think the angel of God brought him to me, and that's how my matchmaking began. I didn't even doubt the guy in a second. I just went online and started working. Honestly, I started working even when doing everything, it just went, just happened so smooth. I think I was fed up or holding my life because I had held my life for a very long time, and I didn't know what to do. And I was asking questions like myself, the universe, God, what do I do next? And this guy just popped up. I had a profile online, and he just popped up. But when he popped up, he became an angel to me. He just helped me with everything. And that's how my business began. began.
That's like an amazing story, but like you still like this guy gave you an idea and then you turned it into a reality. And so what was the hardest part about turning that into a reality?
I think that the hardest part it was me finding the right coach. Now I had, because when this guy came, he came with this reality. I set everything up. I did the training. I had a friend who already had a business. He sat down with me every once a week. He will do a business plan. So I hired one person, and then they will teach me how to create a cash flow focus. And then my friend as well will go once a week. So I had a training twice a week, really getting to know the business and doing some research. Um, but now, what became the hardest thing is now I turn to this idea into reality, and now how to move this reality thing forward and turn it into something that people can use it. So the coach, now finding the right coach. But I began with the free coaches that I found online, these people that are very, very successful and who are willing to train startup, a new startup. So I met this guy and he trained me, helped me so much with so much information. And that's when after that I was like, okay, I went to a business event now with football. The only meetings are, I think my matchmaking would have become only matching footballers if I didn't meet that girl, because that's the part that I wanted. I was just going to football clubs with business event. So I met this girl, and then this girl went, oh, I know somebody. If you want a business coach, I know someone. And he introduced me to Des. And just Des helped me with my confidence. And there were times where fear would creep in, Amanda. When I'm saying fear would creep in, when he gives me a task, I will realize this is like pushing me out of my comfort zone, and I'll be ringing him 20 times a day. You'll be nonsense, shut up, go and do the work that I've given you. But it was fear. But it was really nice. I felt so blessed that I got to work with him from the beginning because he knew what he was doing. So for that 1 year, he actually, I think he was dealing with my fears. So I don't want to lie and say I was okay. You know, people, when you see musicians, you think they've got it all figured it out, but you haven't. You don't fear being on stage at that moment when you're saying about with the other things, you still need to work out that fear. So yeah, that was my fear of putting my business now out there for people as a CEO to speak about my business. That was hard.
That's amazing though, to get up and speak. Like that's a goal that I have, is to speak at events, and mostly on either on education or empowering your life through your creative gifts that you have. And so I think that one of the things that we do sometimes is, like you said, that fear of speaking might stop us, or that fear of not being good enough at something, or just not knowing which way to go, which path to take. And I always am inspired by people who aren't afraid to try. And I think sometimes turning our ideas into reality is just that piece of, are we afraid to try or not? Because when we're not afraid to try, the world becomes like our oyster, and we can achieve anything that we put our mind to. But when we are afraid to try, it can keep us stuck for so very long. And I even see kids in the classroom that, yeah, I teach grade 5. And so when they're even as young as grade 5, already have ideas about what they're good at and what they're not good at. And they will just like not even try something because they're already like, oh, in grade 3, I was not good at math. So like, they already have this wall up. I'm already not good at it. I'm not going to try. But if I show them like different ways, or ways to think about things differently, or try to like build up their confidence, then they become not so afraid to try it. And so I have one student who really is struggling with their reading, and at the beginning of the year in grade 5 even couldn't read a sentence essentially. And now I've like been working with him a whole bunch as much as I possibly can, just pull him aside and do some reading with him. And I'm like, look, at the beginning of the year we like struggled with like just these simple sentences, and now we're reading like a whole page, and just like that's so much improvement. And it's so powerful to see and to help build the kids' confidence, because then as an adult they're going to have more confidence when they see, like, even though I had this hard thing that was really hard for me and it wasn't hard for anybody else, but then I was able to overcome it because a teacher or a parent or a coach believed in me. And I think that sometimes like that one thing is just we need one person to believe in us. We need one person to believe that we are smart in this area, or we can achieve a goal in another area, or we're not like useless in some area. Like sometimes it's just like that I'm not good enough feeling, right? I'm not good enough to be able to do whatever it is that I want to do, or I don't have the skills, or I didn't have the parenting, or whatever your excuse is. And I know even for myself, I sometimes have those pity parties of excuses, but there definitely is that power in overcoming our fears. And so, Nomza, when you started the podcast or the talk show, what was like, how did you turn the talk show into a reality? What were your steps into turning this show into a reality? Because we've now been doing it for a number of years.
I think that was days, because part of the package for the coaching was for him to interview me once a week live on Facebook, which he doesn't do it anymore. I don't know why he stopped, but I'm glad that I met him when he was doing it, because he would give me interview on Facebook live once a week. And then when he does the events as well, I'll go to his events. But I realize the hard work that he was putting as a coach to get audience. So I realized that if I needed people to get to know my business, so maybe I need to do like a talk show for myself. And when I do a talk show, then I create my own audience, so that one day when I do events, we have our own audience. That was the reason why I started the talk show. And I started with the other people. I approach the other people. You know, when you meet people from the events, you make friends with them. But when you make friends with them, people have the people that you meet. It's always good to do things on your own. If I'm not being mean, but doing things on your own is really good. And then you find the people that can help you to build that idea to reality. Because when we were dealing with these 4 people, we were all dedicated. And then one day, one of the girls just said to us, you guys are not good enough. I was like, we are not good enough. And she was like, yeah. And then she was like, she's shutting down the talk show. So I was like, you can't shut down the talk show. I gave you the idea. And she was like, yeah, she's shutting it down. But I had to, you guys had already joined the talk show. I think it was a few weeks to join the talk show. And then I remember calling Des, I think it was 7 p.m. or 8 p.m., saying, where is your designers? Do you think they can actually brand the talk show by tomorrow morning to be something else? And he was like, yeah, sure. What do you want? So I had to send all the ideas. He had already have the branding anyway. So I had to send all the names and all the ideas. By the time we woke up, the YouTube channel was already created. Facebook was already branded. Everything had already been changed. but I had to delete those videos that I think we made for a year. I had to delete them on the page to start again. So that was a waste of time. But I think when you start your idea, because from the beginning, at the beginning, is good because the dreams are different. The people are dreaming things different. Like us now, we were 30 something now. Is the six or seven of us now, but we're all gaining the same. If the talk show takes off, there is no like NOMSA is gonna get more money or anything. I've made it in a way that everybody will gain the same way because I did not want people to say, "Oh, it's not our talk show." So I was like, I already have my business, so it's nice to have this talk show. So these people know that if it does take off one day, it goes viral everywhere. So they know that they'll have a security. So that's how Ngozi Talk Show is created. And but that wasn't me, that was God. And he was like selfish, he does not work. I was like, selfish? What do you mean selfish? And it was like they've got to feel is their home. So that's why I had to create it the way I created it. But having you guys every single week coming on, it means I don't have an excuse not to show up for you guys. Even when life does not make sense, I don't have to make an excuse. So it means I have to understand that I've got people that I need to get up for and people that are putting their time on the line. And that's what makes me, that's what gives me a boost every single day.
Yeah, like having an accountability partner, right? When
Yeah.
when you start something new, that when you have somebody that you know you have to show up for, you're more likely to show up even when you're not feeling well. And that's what they talk about when you want to lose weight or something, is to have an accountability partner to go to the gym with, because even on those days when you're feeling like not going, you're like, I gotta show up because so and so is gonna be there and I don't want to let them down, right? And so those are those important things that we have, that we want to make sure that we're showing up, right? We're showing up for ourselves, but also we're more likely to show up for the other person, because that accountability is like holding ourselves accountable. But we're also don't want to let somebody else down. And I think sometimes, especially when you're starting something new, it's so important to have accountability partners. And I wonder, Gnomes, if you had just run the talk show on your own for like ever, if not having people to show up for might have been like, I just don't want to do this anymore. Right? Like I just don't feel like it today. I'm just not going to run it today. But when you have people that you have to show up for, you're going to show up and get up. Like I get up at 5:30 so that I can be on by 6 a.m. pretty much every Wednesday unless I'm out of town. Um, and it's because I want to make sure that I'm not letting anybody down. And and that I think is important when we are trying to turn our goals into a reality, is having people that we show up for. And really, in the end, when we're showing up for someone else, we're also showing up for ourselves, and showing ourselves that we can commit to whatever it is that we choose to. So when I think, like, if you want to write a book, what is it that you have to do to get that book started, right? The first thing probably is to start writing. When you want to start a business, like what's the first step that you need to do to start that business? Do you, sorry, my kitten's like trying to eat my plants. Stop eating the plants. Even something as simple as like wanting a kitten, you have to like then go and take the steps of like getting the kitty food, getting the litter box, getting the kitty toys, finding which cat you want to buy. That's something really simple, but it's like just the same type of thing as turning whatever idea you have into a reality. Is you have to like first research it and then start gathering the materials you need to create that reality for yourself. And now my kitten is very spoiled.
Yeah, realize that you're right, Amanda. You have to, when you have people that hold you accountable, I think we are where we are at some point in our lives because somebody pushed us to be there and supported us and pushed us to be there. So that's why it's important to the foundation of our lives. It's really, really important who is in it. Because it's nice, like when I was saying, like when I was like getting scared with the speaking, because I watch people like when they speak, some people they just doing the entertainment when they are speaking, they're so gifted. Um, but then I realized actually what made me like really love speaking is because when I was speaking, I was trying to get so creative and trying to, but then I realized actually I already know what my business is about. Why am I in front of the mirror? So I had to stop being in front of the mirror. I was like, what? Why am I practicing if I already know what my business is about? So I decided to actually just read the strategy, just have a look at the strategy of what I'm going to do when I'm speaking, the thing, the strategy, and then I just show up and talk about my business because I already know my business. I realized I did not have to memorize nothing as like I already written this business, the strategy, and I know the goals, I know where I need to be, and I know what kind of clients that I need, that I'm serving. So I don't really need to be in front of the mirror. And that's what Deza said. Deza said to them, so when I speak to you, you tell me what you do. So why are you worried about all these things? But then I realized I was being too hard on myself because if we do that, I'm sure Amanda, you've done it when you're like really being too hard on yourself. Since then, I don't go in front of the mirror.
Mm.
Even with the topic, like when we're like whatever we're going to do, I look at the topic, and when I'm in the office, I have to think about what, like the step by step, creating an idea, taking it to reality. What are the step by step? Then I have to refer it to me. What did I have today to actually create this idea to reality? There were fears at times. I feared the unknown. Um, my friends, I feared that sometimes I will not fit into my friends. I feared people judging me, which is all these things I shouldn't have. And feared how my tomorrow is going to look like. There's so many fears, and some of the fears had nothing to do with my business, to be honest. So I don't know, Amanda, if you've ever been in that place where you put yourself in a situation where you actually condemn yourself with fear.
Yeah, I definitely. There's so many times where fear of like the unknown will stop me, or fear of screwing up, or that like I have anxiety, so anxiety will stop me from completing things or from putting myself out there. Or I was reading Mel Robinson's book, not her newest, well, but or Robin's book. Her newest one is called Let Them, but one of her older ones I just borrowed from a friend the other day, and it was called The 5 Second Rule, I think. And anyways, it's about like when you get that impulse to act on something, it's like don't let your brain think, like just do it. Just like take the steps to do it. And like she talked about how when she was like in her 40s, her life was basically like in the toilet. And at 41, she watched the some sort of space launch. And then she like was like, okay, to get the inertia to get space craft into the air, it's like that 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 launch. And so she decided the next morning that she was gonna like not hit snooze and do 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 launch, and launch herself out of bed like the space launch. And she essentially like started shifting her whole life by every time that she got this idea, an idea, she would launch herself into it and like pursue it and make sure, even if it was as simple as like, I should go talk to that person over there at this conference. And then you like get in your head and you're like, no, like they might not like me, or like, what would I say? Or "Oh, how would I introduce myself?" And instead you just like walk over and you start talking to them. And so I liked that idea because I thought that was really, really powerful. But also, even to like when you're struggling with getting yourself out of bed, that can be something where you too are just like launching yourself out of bed to be like, okay, I'm going to get up and I'm going to achieve this in the morning. And once you've achieved something in the morning, then it's like you can achieve more throughout the day. And I feel like when we are in that mode of production, it's like easier to produce more. But when we're in that like mode of I can't do this, it's like you get stuck for a really long time. And once you like start, things start to like because it's like the snowball effect, right? Just gets bigger and bigger and bigger as you go, and it's like almost has its own inertia after it started. But at the start it's like sometimes really hard to start. And so that 5 4 3 2 1 is like launch yourself. And I really like that. I haven't exactly put it into use yet, but I just finished the book and I thought it was had some really great points in it. And I'm looking forward to reading her newest book on called Let Them. And I know a number of people have been reading that one. um, but and also there's a podcast, or not a podcast, a TED Talk on her 5 second rule, which essentially was what got launched her career a lot. And it was from a number of years ago. So something as simple as 5 4 3 2 1 blast off can shift your entire life, which I thought was so empowering. And like she said, I didn't realize I've followed Mel Robbins on social media and have for a while now, and I didn't realize that in her 40s, like early 40s, was when her life was kind of not going the way she had hoped, and now she's completely shifted everything in her life. And so I think it doesn't matter what age you are, you can begin to shift with the simplest idea sometimes. And I think that simple idea has impacted millions of people around the world, and she probably never expected that to happen. So take that first step.
Yeah, I think it's really, really important to take that first step and also understand that if you don't do it, no one will do it for you. And also not to worry about age as well. I need to listen to her, watch her as well. Mel Robbins. I've watched some of her video podcast as well. Yeah. Sometimes I think that's why they say life begins at 40. I think when you are in your 40s is where you realize actually um, that's when you stop caring about what people think. Because when you are in your 30s, 20s, you worry so much about people. Honestly, I used to worry about people, but then I realize that actually everyone is so busy in a way that they've got too many problems, and sometimes they don't even notice what you do. They can criticize, but it doesn't mean they're in that zone. So get into your lane, Nomsa, and do what you do best. And who knows, one day people will be talking about Ngozi Talkers and saying, we used to watch it. There used to be like two viewers watching the talk show, and we'll be telling, like, teaching people how to be patient, really, really be patient. But I think I've come to a point that you see, I'm saying that I need to um, make money. I was online yesterday with one of our pastors because I'm like speaking to Daddy every day. He just pulled me out and said he knows that what you're asking for. So don't give up, don't give up, don't do anything. But he knows. He's saying he knows. So don't give up. So meaning that he's there preparing big things for us. So Amanda, what advice can you give someone right now who may say, guys, it sounds so beautiful, you're saying if you're on with it, But you know what? You don't understand my story. Everybody has a story.
Everybody has a story. Everyone has fears. Everyone has things that keep them stuck. And if you have an idea, I'm going to give you the same advice that my friend gave me a number of years ago now, well, probably like 10 or 11 years ago now. And it's just start. Just start. That's the hardest part, is just start. And then once you start, keep going, even on days that you don't feel like it. Sorry, my kitten's like very playful this morning. Yeah, so just start, and no matter what it is, that you'll be guided along the path, but you have to be willing to start. And the longer you take to start, the longer that path takes to begin, right? And our journey begins with our first step.
I like the idea of just start. Yeah, you are the creator of your destiny. So if you don't create your life, no one will create it for you guys. Start, cut the noise, just delete every noise in your ears, leave the voice of God, whoever you believe in your life. Me, I believe in God. I just get on with it. No excuses. If I can tell you, I've had fears in my life, but when I did, and also do the training as well, whatever training that is relevant to whatever you want to do it. And be willing to do the work, because no one will do it. Even if you hire people, be willing to be there. Be the first one to show up and the last one to leave. That's what I can advise I can give you guys. And if you're watching us from YouTube, please do subscribe to our channel. And our social media, on Facebook, we have 2 groups and gossip pictures of unique billionaire mindset. Please do join, do share the video and spread the message. God bless, guys, and we will see you tomorrow. I can't believe tomorrow is Thursday.